Welcome back, student. So today I am here with the next portion of sometimes I find the rupee in the garbage of Lost Spring. So you please listen carefully. Why aren't you wearing chappals? I asked one. My mother didn't bring them down from the shelf, he answers simply. So Enizung asked one of the friend of Sahib, Enizung observed that these boys never wore chappal shoes like thing. তেওঁলোকে জোতা চেণ্ডেল একো নিপিন্ধে গতিকে এনিজুঙৰ মনৰ প্ৰশ্ন হ'ল যে কিয় সৰু সৰু বাচ্চাবিলাকে জোতা চেণ্ডেল নিপিন্ধে so that is why she asked a question to a boy of Sahib's group তাৰ এটা ল'ৰা সুধিলে যে তুমি জোতা চেণ্ডেল কিয় নিপিন্ধা তেতিয়া এটা ল'ৰাই উত্তৰ দিলে my mother did not bring them down from the shelf মানে মাকে ওপৰৰ শেলফত চেণ্ডেল তুলি থয় আৰু তাক সেই চেণ্ডেলটো তাক নমাই নিদিয়ে বুলি সি ৰিপ্লাই কৰিলে Even if she did, he will throw them off, adds another who is wearing shoes that doesn't match. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says nothing. I want shoes, says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities on village roads. So then one of the boys told that even if her mother bring them down, he will never wear them. Make sandal nomai dilo, he nipindhe boli uttor dila. He loratoi ki korisil, he also wearing a pair of shoes. Kintu jotajor ki hona sil, it doesn't match. That means he doesn't purchase those shoes from the market. He got the shoes somewhere. Jitu mane match nokora. Kopar pa epat anile kopar epat pale janike pinhi asil. Dujora dupat boli jitu ami kau. Enizunga he কথাটো কব ধৰোতেনে হি কি কৰে হি হ্যাজ shuffles his foot জোতা ভৰিটো যেনেকৈ আছিল হি পজিশনটো হলাই দিলে So Enizung is a keen observer of things তেওঁ কথাবিলাক খুব নিৰীক্ষণ কৰে I have already told you being a realistic writer she used to travel among people and try to find out each and everything of human beings life প্ৰত্যেকটো বস্তু তেওঁ উলিয়াবলৈ চেষ্টা কৰে গতিকে এনেদৰে গাঁও চহৰ ঘূৰি ফুৰোতেন particularly ইণ্ডিয়াৰ বিভিন্ন চহৰবিলাকত তেওঁ যেতিয়া ঘূৰিছিল তাৰ এটা কমন Sin down the kissil. At a similarity on the kissil, the children in Indian villages and cities they don't wear shoes or chappals. Jota sandal tanuke nipin hisil. Hetuata down sokut purisil kothato. It is not lack of money but a tradition to stay barefoot is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. So Enizung realized why this is happening in the cities and villages of India, why children don't wear shoes and chappals. The main reason is that the lack of money. The parents of those children cannot afford shoes. They look at the sandal. Kini pela lorasalik pinwar capacity তেওঁলোকৰ নাছিলে This is one reason which we are able to find out and there is one more reason is that barefoot is a kind of message to people to convey message to people that they are poor perpetual state of poverty that means continuous state of poverty perpetual means continuous অৰ্থাৎ অন্তহীন দৰিদ্ৰতাৰ অৱস্থাটো বুজোৱাৰ কাৰণে এই খুৰা ভৰিতটা কি আছিল মাধ্যম আছিল At a batsa jeta khuda hoy amar sonnukot thiyo hoy diye immediately we can assume that this particular kid is poor he amak nokolu hoy je hi dukhiya I remember a story a man from Udupi once told me as a young boy he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest he would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes 30 years later, I visited his town and the temple, which was now drawn in an air of desolation. In the backward, where lived the young new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. So why children don't wear shoes and chappals in Indian cities to explain this particular thing and is narrating a story of our life. There was a story amak koise. At a lora, তেওঁ যেতিয়া স্কুললৈ যায় সদায় তেওঁ কেনি যায় এটা মন্দিৰৰ সন্মুখেৰি যায় he used to pass a temple whenever he used to go to school আৰু যেটো টেম্পল তেওঁ পাৰ হৈ যায় সেই টেম্পলটোত তেওঁৰ দেউতাকে কি কৰে পুৰোহিতৰ কাম কৰিছে so whenever he crossed the temple he used to stay for a while in front of the temple and pray to the god to give him a pair of shoes that means the son of the priest don't wear shoes and chappals 30 years later he jagakon ako jeta joa hol tetya ki hoisil the priest to colony hoy goisil the priest has been changed there is now the new priest had come there aru eta notun priest jonor der ghor to mandir to pisphale his house is situated in the backyard of the temple aru he sotal khonot dekha pa goisil ki some black and white plastic chairs were there okay red and white plastic chair kisman tat dekha goisil a young boy dressed in a gray uniform wearing socks and shoes arrived panting and threw his school bag on a folding bed looking at the boy I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes let me never lose them the goddess has granted his prayer young boys like the son of the priest now wore shoes but many others like the rag pickers in my neighborhood remained shoeless so with the passing of time this is what Anizum tried to explain to the story tradition had been changed 30 years agot ki hoisil priest bilakor lora bilakok jota sandal pinhibole dia no hoisil reason to etwe je deutakor pisot he temple to priest kun hobo teur pite ho he had to take the responsibility of the priesthood of the temple aru priesters life it a restricted life they are not allowed to wear pants shoes something like that they are only allowed to wear dhuti and they had to remain shoeless since he had to take the responsibility of priesthood that is why to accustom his child he was not allowed to wear shoes and chappals but 30 years later that tradition had been broken now the priest used to live a modern life because one can see plastic chair in the yard of his house and the son coming back from school he is wearing gray uniform shoes and socks are also there and he used to sleep in a folding bed these are the thing which is one can see in the modern societies so with the passing of time some of the tradition had been broken now the priest of the son is allowed to wear shoes but children like Sahib and many others who are poor they still not allowed to wear shoes and chappals okay my acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. So, in the meantime, Anizum has developed a very good relationship with Sahib and other boys of his age. So, now she realized that she should go to the place to see the exact condition of the place. And these boys lived in Simapuri, which is situated on the periphery of Delhi. Periphery means outskirts of Delhi. That means very near to Delhi. It is not far away from Delhi. That is in reality. But metaphorically, that means symbolically, the place is miles away from Delhi. Why is he giving this particular statement? Simapur is a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. Tamne Simapuri gate lagi thoka Simapuri Delhi gate lagi thoka jaga kintu jodi ami symbolically jodi ami sao jaga kon Delhi pra miles away বহু দূৰ যেন লাগে তাৰমানে এজন মানুহ যেটা সীমাপুলে গুছি যাব তেনেকুৱা ফিল হ'ব দিল্লীখন যেন বহুশ কিলোমিটাৰ থৈ আহিলে এনেকুৱা ফিল হ'ব কিন্তু কথাটো তেনেকুৱা নহয় একদম ওচৰতে কিন্তু দেখাত অনুভৱটো তেনেকুৱা হয় ৰিজনটো এটোৱে the contrasting of environment Delhi আৰু Simapuri environmental যেটো contrasting যেটো scenario সেই কথাটো কাৰণে নিজুঙে এই ৰেফাৰেন্স দিছে contrast এটোৱে being a capital city of India it is very developed সব ফালৰ পৰা দিল্লী ডেভেলপ হৈছে আমি গম পাওঁই কিন্তু গাতে লাগি থকা সীমাপুৰে তুমি যেটা যাবা দিল্লী ডেভেলপমেন্টৰ কোনো এটা সিন তুমি সীমাপুৰে দেখিবলৈ নাপাবা there is no electricity there is no drinking water supply no facility was given to those people there actually that is why and is giving this particular reference those who live here are squatters who came from Bangladesh back in 1971. Sahib's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. It still is, but it is no longer empty. So the people who living there, they not belong to Delhi actually. They came from Bangladesh back in 1971, and Sah's family was one of them. And one more thing anything saying is that when these people came to Simapur in 1971, at that point of time, it was a wilderness. But difference is that, there's only one difference is that, before 1971, it was wilderness and the place was completely empty. Around khali asil. Delhi kono local manu tat thoka nasil. Kintu etia difference etu hoi gol. It is still wilderness. Environment eke hoi ase. Kono dhoronor facility oha nai etia. Kintu difference etu hol now it is filled with people. So those people who migrated from Bangladesh in 1971, they settled down in this place, Simapuri. Okay. It's about no longer empty. In structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage or running water, live 10,000 rag pickers. So this is the situation in Simapuri. They live in a house which is made of tin and tarpaulin. Tin or tarpaulin jot ji paise gotai loi ahise. Heikini ka ari plai teloke ghor to banaise. Tat kono drainage system nai, kono water supply system nai. Enekwa eta poribehote more than 10,000 people living in Simapuri. All these 10,000 people have migrated from Bangladesh in 1971 and they are living there since then. They have lived here for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with ration cards that get their names on voters list and enable them to buy grain. Food is more important for survival than an identity. And they are living here for last 30 years. I've been living there for 30 years. And they have nothing actually. They don't have identity card and they don't have permits as well. They're illegally living in Simapuri. They have only one thing, that is ration card. Government has a ration card and with the help of that, they could able to buy food items in a very low price. Khub kom mullo tanka khadyo bostu kini kinibole pai ar hetu upor base kore tanka ki korise jiai ase. But Anizung also clarified one more thing is that to survival, identity and permit is not essential. What is most important, that is food. A man can live without identity, but he can't live without food. Ejon manhu porichoy nohoakoi jiai thakibo paribo, kintu khadyo bihone manhu jiai thakatu joruri nohoy. Telu jodi Bangladeshot thake, definitely they will have their identity. Teluke nijoke Bangladeshor nagorik boli identify koribo paribo. Kintu hetu potto telu jiai thakibo nware kan tat telu ki napai, khaboloi ahar napai. Bharatoloi ahise, illegally migrate korise telok. Teluke nijoke bharatiyo boli sinaki dibo nware, nijoke Bangladeshi boli teluke sinaki dibo nware. Kintu tothapito telok sukhi ei kothator karone je jiai thakibor karone jodi minimum ahar, hetu at least teluke iyat thaki pelai paise. Nijor thale ghuri gole teluke etu ba ponchit hobo. They were deprived of food if they went back to their birthplace, that is Dhaka, Bangladesh. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than the fields that give us no grain. Say a group of women in tattered saris, when I asked them why they left their beautiful land and green fields and rivers. So Anizung made a group of women who were in tattered saris. Tattered sari mane hoise olop phota sida khari pini thoka eta women eta group eta teu paisil. And Anizung asked a question to them. Anok eta proshno korisil je apnalok iban Dhakar nodir parar seujia poribeshot apnalok janmo hoise, eta nice eta natural environment majot apnalok thoka manu. Gode apnalok সেই ঠাই এৰি পেলাই এনেকুৱা Simapuri নিচিনা wilderness নে কিয় গুছি আহিলে? ইয়াতো একোই নাই. You don't have any facility to live. ইয়াতো মানুহ থকা কোনো পৰিবেশই নাই. না আপোনাক আইডেন্টিটি আছে, একোই নাই. Still আপোনাক ইয়াত কিয় আছে? তেতিয়া সেই গ্ৰুপৰ এগৰাকী মহিলাই আনসাৰ দিছিল এনেদৰে যে দিনৰ শেষত যেতিয়া আমি আমাৰ স্বামী আৰু আমাৰ সন্তানক যদি আমি পেটত কিবা এটা খাবলৈ দিব পাৰোঁ ভোকাটো এটা পেটৰ পৰিৱৰ্তে আমি সেইটোতেই সুখী তেওঁ সিম্পল কথাটো এইটোৱেই যে as long as we are here in Simapuri we can able to feed our sons and our husbands if we go back to our own place then we will be deprived of the particular thing আৰু সেইটো তেওঁলোকে কেতিয়াও নিবিচাৰে এগৰাকী মাকে বা এগৰাকী ৱাইফে নিজে গামোচা মাৰি ভোকত শুই থাকিব পাৰিব কিন্তু নিজৰ সন্তান আৰু স্বামীক ভোকাটোৰ পেট এটাৰে খুওৱাটো তেওঁলোকৰ কাৰণে বৰ কষ্টকৰ এটলিষ্ট সীমাপুৰীত তেওঁলোকে সেই বস্তুটো ফেচ কৰিবলগীয়া হোৱা নাই আৰু সেই কথাটোৰ কাৰণে ইমান কষ্টৰ মাজতো তেওঁলোকে কি কৰিছে সীমাপুৰীত থাকিছে আৰু জীয়াই থাকিবৰ কাৰণে প্ৰফেশ্যনটো কি বাছি লৈছে তেওঁলোকে rag picking this is only one profession which they can do there actually wherever they find food they pitch their tents that become transit homes children grow up to them becoming partners in survival and survival in Simapuri means rag picking throughout the years it has acquired the proportion of a fine art garbage to them is gold it is their daily bread a roof over their heads even if it is a leaking roof but for a child it is even more so wherever they find food they used to settle in that particular place they were in Simapuri because they could able to get minimum food in Simapuri if due to circumstance if they deprive of the particular thing they will transport it to some other place কাৰণ তেওঁলোকৰ ঘৰবিলাক কি নহয় পাৰ্মানেণ্ট নহয় they live in transit homes যিবিলাক ঘৰ তেওঁলোকে ভাঙি চিঙি লৈ গৈ আকৌ বেলেগত আকৌ প্লেচ কৰি ল'ব পাৰে আৰু এনেদৰে তেওঁলোক ঘূৰি ফুৰে ওকে আৰু এওঁলোকৰ মাজত জীয়াই থকাৰ উপায় এটাই আছে means of survival that means the thing through which they can able to live জীয়াই থকাৰ যিটো উপায় সেইটো হৈছে কি rag picking rag picking is a means of survival for the people of Simapuri সেই কাৰণে এওঁলোকৰ পৰিয়ালবিলাকত যেতিয়া এটা সন্তান জন্ম হয় তাক তেওঁলোকে কি বনায় rag picker আমাৰবিলাক পৰিয়ালৰ সন্তান এটা জন্ম হ'লে মাক দেউতাকে বহুত সপোন দেখে কাবাক ডক্টৰ বনাম কাবাক ইঞ্জিনিয়াৰ বনাম কাবাক মানে ভাল ডাঙৰ ডাঙৰ অফিচাৰ হ'ব এইবিলাকেই আমাৰ সপোন ওকে আৰু সেই সপোনবিলাক দেখিয়ে মাক দেউতাকে ল'ৰা ছোৱালীক ডাঙৰ কৰে কিন্তু এওঁলোকৰ মাজত তেনেকুৱা সপোনবিলাক দেখাৰ অনুমতি নাই they are not allowed to have such dreams in their life কাৰণ if they don't do rag picking then they will have to die তেওঁলোক মৰিব লাগিব they don't have much choice in their life জীৱনত বিশেষ বিকল্প তেওঁলোকৰ নাই they don't have alternative they don't have choice they can do only one thing that is what rag picking বাচ্চাৰ পৰা বুঢ়ালৈকে ফ্যামিলি যিমান কিজন মেম্বাৰ আছে everybody involved in this particular profession that is rag picking so that is why rag picking is a very crucial and essential thing for the people of Simapuri হেকাৰণে এই বস্তুটো এনেকুৱা হৈছে the person who is very much skilled in rag picking এজন ফাইন আৰ্টিষ্ট যিটো গ্ল্যামাৰ পায় যিটো নাম পায় ইয়াত rag picker জনে তেনেকুৱা এটা গ্ল্যামাৰ বা নাম পায় he was honored by people everybody recognized him as a very good rag picker because of his skill actually I sometimes find a rupee even a 10 rupee note Sahib says his eyes lighting up when you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage you don't stop scrounging for there is hope of finding more it seems that for children garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents for the children it is wrapped in wonder for the elders it is a means of survival so Elizung asks is conversing with Sahib one day out of happiness Sahib told Elizung that sometimes I find a rupee even a 10 rupee note or a silver coin in a heap of garbage when he telling that particular thing his eyes lighting up with happiness যে যাবৰ খুচৰি থাকি কেতিয়াবা 1 টকা পাওঁ কেতিয়াবা 10 টকা পাওঁ ভাগ্য ভাল থাকিলে কেতিয়াবা ৰূপৰ কইন এটাও পাই যাওঁ ওকে সেই কথাটো কওঁতেন তাৰ চকুকিটা ফুৰ্তিত জিলিকি উঠিছিল and anything can feel the happiness which Sahib felt at that point of time আৰু anything Sahibৰ সেই মুখৰ আনন্দটো তেওঁ অনুভৱ কৰিব পাৰিছিল আৰু সেই আনন্দটো অনুভৱ কৰি তেওঁ গম পাইছিল যে যাবৰ বস্তুটোৰ মিনিং সীমাপুৰী মানুহৰ কাৰণে দুটা অৰ্থাৎ শিশুখিনিৰ কাৰণে তাৰ যিটো অৰ্থ the meaning which children understand by garbage it is quite different from the elder member of the family. পৰিয়ালৰ বয়সস্থ মানুহবিলাকৰ কাৰণে তাৰ অৰ্থটো অলপ কি আছিল বেলেগ আছিল বয়সস্থ মানুহবিলাকে যাবৰ বস্তুটোৰ প্ৰতি সেই আনন্দটো তেওঁলোকে ফিল নকৰে they don't feel the same kind of enthusiasm and happiness which a child can feel and for the elders what is the meaning of garbage it is simply means of survival for the elder of Simapuri. And the same thing, that is garbage, what is the meaning for the children? It is what? Garbage is wrapped in wonder for the children of Simapuri. Wrapped in wonder means they can't realize from where a coin or a 10 rupee note or a silver coin had come to a heap of garbage. ইমান দুৰ্গন্ধময় জাবৰ দমবিলাকৰ মাজত আহি পেলাই সেই এটকাটো 10 টকাটো ক'ৰ পৰা আহি সোমালেহি এটো তেহেঁতৰ কাৰণে এটা কি হাতৰ is a big question mark for them. They are not able to understand the fact where this thing come from. But since they find it, they feel happy about that. And one more thing is that if they got a coin, it doesn't mean that they will stop scrounging. That is জাবৰ খুচৰাটো বন্ধ কৰি দিব হেতু মানে নাই এটকাটো পালে তেনে জাবৰ খুচৰাৰ আগ্ৰহটো কি হৈ যায় উৎসাহটো এনথুজিয়াজমটো আৰু বাঢ়ি যায় আৰু খুচৰি গৈ থাকোতে যদি 10 টকা পায় তেতিয়া তেহেঁতি আৰু উৎসাহিত হয় আৰু ইন্টাৰেষ্টত খুচৰে আৰু কেতিয়াবা সিলভাৰ কইন পাই গলে আৰু আনন্দত ক'ব না কিন্তু এটো নহয় যে এটকা পালে 10 টকা পালে বা সিলভাৰ কইনটো পালে আনি জাবৰ খুচৰাটো বন্ধ কৰি দিব কাৰণ বেছি পোৱাৰ আশাটো সদায় বাঢ়ি গৈ থাকে এটো হিউম্যান টেন্ডেন্সি the more we get the more we expect আমি যিমানেই পাও আমাৰ এক্সপেক্টেশনটো সিমানেই বাঢ়ি গৈ থাকে we can't satisfy our expectation মানুহে নিজৰ আশাটো কেতিয়াও সন্তুষ্ট কৰিব নোৱাৰে বাঢ়ি বাঢ়ি গৈ থাকে আৰু হেতু এহঁতৰ ক্ষেত্ৰটো এপ্লিকেবল হয় One winter morning I see Sahib standing by the fence gate of the neighborhood club watching two young men dressed in white playing tennis I like the game, he hums, content to watch it standing behind the fence. I go inside. When no one is around, he admits the gatekeeper left me use the swing. So one winter morning, Anizum saw Sahib standing by the gate of a club, neighborhood club. The club or fencing or gate kono bahir Sahib roi asil. And at that point of time, two young men wearing shoes and socks, they were playing tennis in the tennis court. And he was watching the game very intently খুব মনোযোগেৰে কি খেলুৱৈটা খেলাটো চাই আছিল আৰু এনিজুম যেটা ওচৰলৈ গল হি ক'লে যে I love this particular game এই খেলটো মই খুব ভাল পাওঁ আৰু হি লগতে এটো ক'লে যে if there is no one inside the court the gatekeeper allow me to go inside to have a closer view of the tennis court মই এবাৰ ওচৰলৈ গৈ চাই চিতি আহিবলৈ হি মোক অনুমতিটো দিয়ে Sahib too is wearing tennis shoes that look strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Someone gave them to me, he says in a manner of explanation. The fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them does not bother him. For one who has walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently is out of his reach. But on that particular day, when Sahib was observing two young men playing tennis, Anizum saw that Sahib also was wearing a pair of white tennis shoes. Huge tennis shoes, which looked quite strange over his discolored shorts and shirt. Wrong rizwa half pant to logot he bogat dhoktoka jotazor eta combination of odd dekha goisil. Before Anizum asks where who had got that pair of shoes, Sahib himself admits that some rich boy had given me this pair of shoes. Yamuk dise, diya karon to it way, the shoes which Sahib was wearing, it was a discarded shoes for some rich boy. Discarded means kamot noha phati siti joa jota. Ar he jota jor problem to asil ki there is a small hole in a particular bana koba jaga tat eta phuta ulaisil and for the rich boy it is a discarded shoes. So instead of throwing away the shoes, he offered Sahib whether he wants this shoe, and definitely Sahib accepted that because for Sahib, who never wore a pair of shoes in his lifetime, to get a pair of shoes, whether it is discarded or what, is something like dream come true for him. সপোন এটা বাস্তৱত ৰূপায়িত হোৱাৰ নিচিনা কথা জীৱনত জোতা পিন্ধাৰ অভিজ্ঞতাটো কি সেই কাহিনীও পোৱা নাই সেইটো গতিকে ফটা হলেও যিয়ে হওক লাগিলে সেইজোৰে পিন্ধিবলৈ সি পাইছে he considered himself fortunate enough lucky enough. This morning Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now work in a tea stall down the road, he says, pointing in the distance. I am paid 800 rupees and all my meals. Does he like the job? I ask. His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop. Sahib is no longer his own master. So few days later, once again, Anis Jung met Sahib. On that particular day, instead of going for rag picking, Sahib was going to a milk booth, holding a canister on his hand. Anis Junge সুধিছিল যে where are you going? যে তুমি কলৈ যোৱা? তেতিয়া সি আঙুলিয়াই কৈছিল আতৰলৈ যে I am going to a shop and now I am working in a shop. 30 টকা তাত মই কাম কৰোঁ বুলি কৈছিল আৰু মোক মালিকে 800 rupees মোক দৰমহা দিয়ে আৰু খোৱা বোৱা সকলোতে মোক দিয়ে. So Anis Jung thought that he must be quite happy about that because he got good amount of money and food as well, because these things always lacking in their life and now he is getting those things. Anis Jung thought that he must have been happy about that. So she asked Sahib whether you were happy or not working the tea stall. And suddenly Anis Jung observed that Sahib has lost his carefree look. Tar mukhot jitu nirbhik jitu bhav asile hetu herai goisile ei karone now he has become bound actually. Karon agote jitu plastic bag loi ki jabor kohiabole goise that was belongs to him. Tar hatot hetu thake khora nijor hetu kote hetu phatilo heralo, you don't have to give excuse to anyone. Kintu etia jitu steel canister he loi purise that was belong to the owner of the tea stall. Kote hetu heral ba kiba ta jodi hoy, he will have to answer to that particular man. So from that particular point of view, Anis Jung realized that Sahib is no longer his own master. He has lost his freedom. That is the most important thing in Sahib's life. Then the freedom that I can help by in Sahib's life, although he get money, but in the meantime he lost his freedom. So one can say his life become even worse. Okay. So friends, that's all for today. So I will come in my next video with the next portion of Lost Spring, that is I want to drive a car. I am looking forward. Okay, thank you.